What's up, it's Cinema Shogun here, and as you all already know, there are tons of theories still swirling around about the Idaho 4 case. But one really popular theory that I see a lot of people sharing, and now even the experts are weighing in and sharing this theory as well. It's the theory that Bryan purposely left his knife sheath behind. That he purposely did this because maybe Bryan wanted to get caught, or maybe it was like a calling card, like a little signature, if you will. Now, I see a lot of people sharing this theory, and of course, I see experts now sharing this theory as well. But in my opinion, I think it's one of the dumbest theories I've ever heard in my life. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. And we're going to dive into this article so we can all hear from the experts. But first, I want you all to do me a favor. Go to the pinned comment of this video and click the link to the Swagit app. Download the Swagit app and follow me, Cinema Shogun. It is totally free. It's a totally free way to support my channel. When you do follow me on Swagit, you're automatically entered into giveaways. I've given away 100, I've given away 50. We're going to be doing another $100 giveaway at the end of the week, but not just that. It's not just about giveaways. I'm also going to be doing exclusive content over there. We may even do some exclusive Q&As, maybe like weekly skits. So I would really appreciate it if you all download the app and follow me over there today. Also, if you've already downloaded the app, share some videos. I would like to get to learn more about you all over on Swagit. You guys know a good bit about me, or you at least know the type of person I am. You know about my opinions. You know about some of my interests. I want to know about you all. So share your hobbies and your interests over on Swagit. But anyways, like I was saying, I just think that this theory is kind of dumb. And I'll get into that in just a second. But first, let's hear from the experts first. Let's hear what they have to say. The Idaho quadruple unaliving suspect, may have left a knife sheath at the crime scene as a part of a remarkably clever move to get off the hook, a criminologist suggested. David Wilson, a criminology professor at Birmingham City University in the UK, suggested accuser killer Bryan Kohberger was too smart to leave evidence behind, and that he may have done so as a tactic to pull off the perfect crime. I want to pause right there. We've talked about this before. I want to talk about this again. We often make the mistakes of assuming that these criminals are smarter than what they are. We did the same thing with Brian Laundrie. We thought he was an escape artist that was all the way across the world. Turned out he was like a mile down the street from his house and he offed himself. Same thing with Bryan Kohberger. I know he's not dumb. I think the guy he's obviously educated. I think Kohberger's pretty smart. But I don't think that he was like, oh, he's so smart that he can't make mistakes. The reality is, mistakes happen. It doesn't matter how much you train your mind for this. It doesn't matter what type of education you get. When you're in the heat of the moment, things happen. And in the heat of the moment, when this dude was allegedly killing like 4 different people, all within the span of a few minutes, yeah, maybe he could have left something behind. I do think that it's very likely that Bryan Kohberger could have made that mistake. But let's go forward. Wilson said much of the evidence against Kohberger could be framed as coincidental by the defense, including Kohberger's DNA on the sheath, which he said transfers very easily between people and objects. It has been speculated Kohberger left enough evidence at the scene to prompt his arrest, but not enough to conclusively convict him beyond a shadow of a doubt. Such a move could see Kohberger charged and then exonerated, leaving him free from the shadow of possible arrest for the rest of his life, thanks to double jeopardy laws, which prevent people from being charged with the same crime twice. The perfect crime would not be to kill and escape justice, but to kill and use the justice system itself to truly get away with murder. The criminologist was responding to host Philip Schofield, who called the abandoning of the Sheath a remarkable clumsy move. Wilson said, "One of the things that really struck me about the person that's been accused of this is he is intelligent and high functioning. He argued that DNA could be transferred from person to person and said he believes the defense may bring that up in trial. I could have your DNA," Wilson said. "Your DNA is on me. I could go wherever I wanted to go in the next hour, and your DNA could go where I go to," he continued. So the defense is clearly going to present issues that will suggest that Kohberger is innocent. Former FBI Special Agent Jonathan Gillum also weighed in on this theory. He said he thinks investigators will find the knife because similar to Kohberger's car, it was part of his operational tools. Trial attorney Mercedes Colwin agreed that they will eventually find the knife and then suggested the sheath may have been left at the crime scene intentionally. It could be. It's almost as if, and we've seen this with other killers, it's their calling card. "I got this," she said. Especially if you think you're smarter than anyone else, and he certainly does. He had gloves, at least that's what's presumed, that he had gloves. He tried to cover himself, did something to dispose of the clothing. If he in fact did what he's accused of doing, then of course, this is something that could have just been a calling card and left there. Okay, so here's my problem with this theory. Here's why I think this theory is kind of dumb. I think this theory is kind of dumb because it is 2023. 2023. At the time when this happened, it was 2022. Now I know back in the days we had these infamous killers who would leave their calling cards. They would even sometimes carve wounds into the victims. They would leave little clues behind. All types of weird stuff. But that's because back then it was harder to catch people than it is now, okay? Leaving a calling card behind at the scene of a crime in 2022 is probably the dumbest thing that anyone could possibly do because it's just another way that the authorities can link you to the crime. They talk about how smart Bryan is. They think Bryan is so smart that there's no possibility that he left the sheath behind. But in my mind, Bryan's so smart that he would have never done this on purpose. Why? There is no point other than wanting to be caught. There is no point for him doing this. Now, if Bryan really wanted to be caught, I don't think we would have seen Bryan moving the way he was moving, acting the way he was acting. I don't think Bryan wanted to get caught. If anything, I think Bryan wanted to do this again. I don't think that Bryan wanted to do this and get caught. It doesn't matter how smart you are, and I've talked about this before. It doesn't matter your level of education. When you're thrown out there in the field, it's a whole different story. So regardless of how smart Bryan is, when Bryan enters this house and then proceeds to allegedly take the life of 4 young individuals, all of that education, all of that smarts, it goes out the window. Okay, now you're acting on instincts. Now you're becoming more animalistic. You're not necessarily thinking straight or thinking the same. So throughout this process, I would bet that Bryan dropped the sheath. Maybe it was ripped off of his waist. I don't know. And then Bryan went about his day and he made that mistake. I don't think Bryan is beyond making mistakes. Also, knowing that Bryan literally saw one of the surviving roommates, maybe Bryan wasn't going to immediately leave that quickly. But then when he saw one of the surviving roommates, he realized, hey, it's my time to get the hell out of here. So he didn't get to second guess, oh, did I drop this or did I leave this or did I do that? So in my mind, I think this is just, I mean, I understand going over theories for the sake of going over theories, but this is just going into the territory of being unrealistic. That, oh, what's the best thing to do? They're hyping him up like a supervillain. Bryan's going to leave the Sheath behind because he wants to be arrested, and then he wants to be exonerated. But you know what? I'm not even going to lie. I'll keep it real with you all. As I say those words and as they come out my mouth, it kind of clicks in my head that, wait, maybe they're right. Because Bryan's kind of weird. And I do believe that Bryan had this obsession with his education. I think Bryan had this obsession with criminology and the criminal mind. So maybe, hey, maybe in his sick, twisted world, he wanted all of this to happen so he could go to court and be exonerated. But I don't think he's going to get exonerated. I think Bryan left behind too much evidence. I think Bryan was a little more sloppy than he thought. We got the cell phone pings. We got the camera. We got the car caught on camera. We got the Sheath. And who else? And who knows what else they have? I know they have other things. They have more on Bryan than what we know. That's for damn sure. So I don't think Bryan was as smooth as he thinks he was. And I don't want to give Bryan too much credit to the point where we're like, oh, Bryan's this mastermind. He planned on getting caught. That's kind of doing a disservice to law enforcement and doing a disservice to everyone that was involved in the investigation. When it's like you take away everyone's hard work and you just give Bryan all the credit for it. You know what I mean? We got to be careful not to give this dude too much credit because if anything, that's what he wants. He's probably getting off on the fact that now people think he's this criminal mastermind and he's so smart. I do not think for 1 second that he was like, hey, I'm going to take this Sheath, I'm going to place it right here on the bed so they catch me. And then I'll show them the level of my education by getting myself off. But then again, like I said, when I say the words out my mouth, I suddenly realize that, okay. I did make the point that we're living in 2023. And in 2023, anything is possible and crazy things happen every day. So maybe Bryan's crazy enough to do this. But personally, I don't think so. What do you all think, though? There is no right or wrong answer. You can agree with me. You can disagree. I don't mind. I like having these healthy discussions. You don't have to agree with everything I say. I don't have to agree with everything you say. We could brainstorm, go over different ideas. I just want you to feel free to share your opinion down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. And I'll talk to you all in the next video.